Hello and welcome to Act 5 of Othello, and we're on Act 5, Scene 1, as indicated here. So if you've only just joined us, where have you been? You need to go back and look at the other videos. But anyway, well, you don't have to, I'm not going to enforce it, but without further ado, let's move into the actual scene itself. So obviously this is the climax of the play, this is where everything happens. And we see here the culmination of Iago's scheming in this act. So let's start it into this scene itself. So we've got Iago is again manipulating Rodrigo effectively to do his dirty work. He's engineered this situation. It's dark as well, should be noted as well. So we have here stand behind this bulk, so Iago commanding Rodrigo again as well, and waiting for Cassio, lying in wait for Cassio to come past. Then, I have no great devotion to the deed, and yet he hath given me satisfying reasons. 'Tis a man gone, forth my sword, he dies. So this is interesting here from Rodrigo, because really in many ways it sums up the relationship people have with Iago. I have no great devotion to the deed. I'm not really keen on the idea of actually killing Rodrigo. So actually you could say this foreshadows the hesitation of Othello in the final scene as well. Somebody else has been manipulated by Iago, and yet he hath given me satisfying reasons. He means Iago here is giving him reasons. You could interpret it as saying it's Cassio. You could see it like that. I see it as it meaning Iago, but it's open to interpretation, but I think that's what he means. 'Tis but a man gone, forth my sword, he dies. Then Iago smugly revelling in the mayhem that he's causing. I rub this young quat almost to the sense, and he grows angry. And this is Iago likening Rodrigo to a pimple or a spot or something like that, something unpleasant. So he doesn't like him. So it's a derogatory term to describe Rodrigo. Now, whether he killed Cassio or Cassio him, or each do kill the other, and this works as a form of chiasmus here, where you've got the ideas are inverted, whether he killed Cassio or Cassio him. So Iago is weighing up different probabilities and outcomes, or say possibilities would be better, I think. Live Rodrigo, he calls me to a restitution large of gold and jewels I bob from him. So if Rodrigo lives, then he realises that he's been conning all of that money out of him, for which were meant to be gifts to Desdemona. It must not be. So this is really, again, like Iago here, trying to establish reality, like this is something that can't happen. If Cassio do remain, he hath a daily beauty in his life that makes me ugly. So actually, I haven't highlighted this, but this links to the theme of jealousy again as well. That just doesn't like Cassio, just always makes him look bad. It's just his own sense of inferiority towards Cassio. If Cassio do remain, he hath a daily beauty in his life that makes me ugly, so he could just die anyway. And besides, the more may unfold me to him. So if Cassio lives, there's chances that Iago's plans are going to be revealed, because there's more variables, effectively. There stand I in much peril. No, he must die. So this looks like, in some ways you could argue there's an element of indecision here with it, of saying, okay, if first of all, it looks like if one or the other dies, then that benefits me. But then Shakespeare here has had Iago in this aside work out that actually there's disadvantages if either of them live, so they've both got to die. So he's actually ended up concluding that both of them must die. So you could argue this is Iago as a character being opportunistic. You could argue that there's a sense of there being cracks in his plans here, in that there's a sense of hubris. He's been overly confident, and when it actually comes to the fruition of his plans in this final act, maybe it's not quite as slick and completely Machiavellian and sewn up in the way that he would actually want it to be. That's just another way of looking at it. So anyway, into Cassio. I know his gait, so he can tell by the way he uses his walk. He's a woman's man. No, it's not. That's something else. That's the Bee Gees. But there's Cassio coming in. He knows it's Cassio by his walk. And villain, thou diest. So he attacks Cassio. Then there's a little convenient thing here. That thrust be mine enemy indeed, but that my coat is better than thou knowst. I will make proof of thine. It turns out Cassio's wearing some armour. He's got some chainmail on underneath his clothes, or I don't know whether it would be visible or not, but maybe he's got it underneath. Maybe he predicted something, but who knows? For some reason, conveniently, he is armoured in some form. So he gets to kill Rodrigo. No one's going to mystery you, Rodrigo. See ya. We get a nice, oh, I am slain, as to point out that he's dead. This is an example of drama being heightened because the deaths you see here, they're not particularly realistic in that at least characters get to say some little lines, some more portentous, as in more weighty and more important than others. But like this one really here, this is kind of effectively telegraphed to the audience. So Shakespeare's audience would know, particularly in the time, oh, he's dead. There's the lower class theatre goers would be looking forward to this bit, like seeing some death. Yeah, at last a death, brilliant. Yeah, they'd like a bit of violence. So again, Shakespeare didn't write this, but for clarification, Iago stabs Cassio in the leg. Then I am maimed forever. Help, ho, murder, murder. So these exclamatories there. Cassio is wounded. Enter Othello. The voice of Cassio. Iago keeps his word. So this is again good for ideas about perceptions of reality. So he thinks that Cassio is dead. Or dying, I suppose. He can't be dead if he's talking. O villain that I am, it is even so. See, Rodrigo gets some extra lines here as well. Look at this. O villain that I am. He realises he's accepted his role, really, I suppose you could say it like that. But it's dark, so light a surgeon. 'Tis he, O brave Iago, honest and just. So more dramatic irony that we're all familiar with when it comes to characters talking about Iago's honesty. Minion, your dear lies dead. And this is him addressing Desdemona, but not directly. He's referring to Desdemona, the idea of her beloved is now dead, and your unblessed fate hies strumpet I cub. So he thinks this is the idea of like she's going to be damned because she's not going to be able to atone for her sins in life, and again using this misogynistic language. So now he's inspired by all this, what he perceives as death. He's now going to do his part of the plan, and he's going to go off and kill Desdemona. And we will see that in the next scene. Thy bed lust stain shall with lust's blood be spotted. So Shakespeare here gives Othello a kind of grim irony, and the image of the bed and the bed sheets. And remember, Desdemona wanted the same wedding bed sheets used, and it links to the handkerchief. And there's a lot to unpack there with the imagery there as well. And here we get Lodovico and Gratiano. And Cassio, what ho, no, watch, no passage, murder, murder. So we've got these Venetians who arrived earlier on in the last act. So they've just walked in on the scene. 2 or 3 groan. So Shakespeare, through the dialogue, expresses the chaos of this scene is a very chaotic scene, and he's expressing uncertainty. And also in Shakespeare's time, the productions would be staged in daylight, so they've got to pretend it's dark. So Shakespeare has to reinforce that artificial reality through lines. So the actors have got to really do their best to pretend that it's dark. They can't see people who are literally 3 feet in front of them, probably, or maybe slightly more than that. 'Tis heavy night. These may be counterfeits. So it could be fake. So actually, that very subtly, it's a very small little reference, but you could say that links to the idea of duplicity as well, because they would be a common trick in that era would be, oh, it's dark. Someone pretends to be attacked. Help, help, I've been attacked. then you go and help the person, and then you're robbed by a gang. Well, this is a classic tactic that still goes on today, these kind of things. Nothing changes, really. Nobody come, then I shall bleed to death. No one's going to come and help you, Rodrigo. Anyway, then we have... Here comes one, it comes in his shirt with light and weapons. So Iago's here apparently to save the day. Not really. Again, that's all good kind of dramatic irony. Then, for heaven's sake, help me, what's the matter? This is Othello's ancient, as I take it, so he's referring to Iago. So he's got a reputation of being a very valiant fellow. So more dramatic irony here. What are you here that cry so grievously? It's actually, why are you crying? Actually, that means they're using relative pronouns. I could remember it for a second, using relative pronouns differently in that era. So it's what instead of why. Iago, I am spoiled, undone by villains, give me some help. So of course Cassio is oblivious to Iago's hand here in all of the proceedings. What villains have done this? So more dramatic irony. Oh, treacherous villains. And with Rodrigo, he takes the opportunity here. Oh, murderous slave. Oh, villain. He stabs Rodrigo. So a betrayal. So again, themes of betrayal. Rodrigo, who has maybe wavered slightly, but never in moral terms. He's wavered slightly in terms of running out of money and thinking, is this really worth bothering with? But Rodrigo has served Iago all the way through, so there's a betrayal here. But Iago wouldn't care. Oh, damned Iago, inhuman dog, more animal imagery. We've had a lot of that in the play. So Iago thinks Cassio is wounded mortally. My leg is cut in two. Marry, heaven forbid. Light, gentlemen, I'll bind it with my shirt. So again, Iago pretending to be supportive. Iago does seem to be opportunistic. He takes advantage of Bianca coming in as well. And he makes the idea, I do suspect this trash, so more misogynistic language here, to be party in this injury. So he's taking advantage of Bianca's genuine concern for Cassio's well-being, and he's taken advantage of that, of saying she's involved in this somehow, and his misogyny comes through because obviously she's a prostitute, or courtesan, or as we've said, prostitute. She's I made that word up. Don't use it in an essay. Prostitute. That's my own joke. Don't use it. Copyright to me. No, I'm joking. But anyway, don't use it in an essay. Anyway, so he's using that misogyny. He's using that angle. He's using her as a potential scapegoat. Not necessarily that she's directly involved in the murder, but he's definitely taking advantage of the negative opinion and the hypocrisy, actually, that higher class men would have of someone like Bianca. And that's my friend and dear countryman Rodrigo. No, yes, sure. Oh, heaven, Rodrigo. So he thinks, oh, that's weird. Rodrigo, I know him. He was a friend of mine. Oh, no, he's dead. Did you know him? No, him I. Oh dear, what a terrible thing. So, Rodrigo, who's done well really to last this long, from the first scene of the play right up until the second to last one. But yeah, he's out of it now. So he becomes again a convenient scapegoat, and Iago pretending to not know what's gone on. Cassio hath here been set on in the dark by Rodrigo, and fellows that are scaped he's almost slain, and Rodrigo dead. So again, this is Iago constructing a false reality. There's other attackers have escaped, but it's all obviously a complete load of nonsense. Iago offering his wise words here, and I'm saying wise words in air quotes. This is the fruits of whoring. So he says this is what you get when you use prostitutes. You get this kind of conflict happen. So he's pretending to be moral here as well. By saying this, he contributes to Iago's persona. And then you have here is something interesting as well. So Iago, only in a small way really, but manipulating. You could say he's manipulating Amelia, because in the previous scene, at the end of the last act, Act 4, Amelia was giving that kind of proto-feminist speech, or Shakespeare was having Amelia deliver that proto-feminist speech, if I can actually say it properly. And but here, where is the female solidarity? You've got Iago bringing out the worst side of Amelia here, who is now criticising Bianca as if she's involved in this attack. Come, mistress, you must tell us another tale. So Bianca is effectively taken into custody. Really, the idea of we need to interview her, interrogate her to find out what's gone on here, and it's all artificial. She's an unwitting victim of it. But I just find it interesting how you get again Amelia adopting this misogynistic language. But I'd say it's Iago has manipulated the situation here, and it all adds to constructing this false reality where he's absolving himself from any. Well, he doesn't even need to absolve himself. He's not even kind of been suspected of it at all. But he's detaching himself from any suspicion of any wrongdoing at all. And then the final aside. This is the night that either makes me or for does be quiet. So Shakespeare ends on a rhyming couplet here. But it's actually, the line is split here. You get a kind of natural caesura, like a pause here, because then the aside is actually the rhyme. The rhyme is here, but look, there's a natural pause in there. So in terms of it being an heroic couplet, the actual meter is disrupted by that pause. And we could link that to Iago's villainy, potentially, or maybe some uncertainty. I mean, he's always a villain, obviously. There's no uncertainty about that. But his uncertainty, he effectively says, this is basically make or break time. This is going to be me succeeding in all of my aims, or it's going to go wrong. Really, Shakespeare's adding some dramatic tension as well before we get to the final scene, which is in the next video. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and like, comment, subscribe, notification bell, share, watch them again and again. Keep on using them. I hope they're useful to you. Thank you. Join me on the next episode, which is the final episode. Farewell until the next time.